Clare. My background is I'm a GP and a medical herbalist. I'm speaking to you from Galway, such as the magic of Zoom. I had to drive all the way up, park in your car park, but I can't properly see you, and it's not the same interaction. So there's pros and cons either way. So I hope we'll all get to learn something. I understand that my audience today is people who are working in an office environment, working within businesses or from different businesses. So I presume some of you will have issues about your own health, children's health, parents' health. We're all part of wider communities, so I'll make it as general as possible. My background is I trained in medicine in UCD, not too far from you, a long time ago, was a GP for 20 years and related roles, and then became interested, following on from an interest in gardening, and a realization that really there was a lot that I was writing on the prescription pad that I'm not sure I would take myself, or it seemed that the magic bullets, we had magic bullets where we needed magic tack hammers instead of a magic sledgehammer. So there was quite a number of things that I thought, you know, I wonder if there's something that would make people feel better while they get better themselves. That was my objective. That would be good enough for me, avoiding harm. And then if they added benefit, which I wasn't in the least anticipating, I thought that would be an extra bonus. But it wasn't why you're all in business. I ended up making a very bad business, just choosing a business route, because it meant I gave up my very well-established general practice and associated NHS pension. And that was 21 years ago. We've come of age today. And I'm not a bit sorry. So that's the good news. It's always a danger when you follow your passion to do with your work. But in my case, I would say my interest, and the more depth of knowledge, the more I find that there's a relevance for herbal medicine, for sustainable and regenerative medicine. And that goes from within our families to the community to public health services. So without any ado, you can see I'm in the clinic. The good news is that the doors are closed. We have a click and collect and an online delivery service for people during this phase of lockdown. So it's fairly quiet. Michelle might be answering the phone in the background. But so I can give you a tour of what we're doing here. You can see here beside me, this is the range of products. Michelle hasn't been here quite as long as I have, but these were developed because my assistants, like Michelle, didn't go to do a degree in herbal medicine, and lots of people were coming in off the street and saying, do you have anything for a chesty cough? Do you have anything for a sore throat? All the things that you'll be asking. So gradually I put blends together, not because I'm hugely clever, but because these blends have been around in our traditional medicine for thousands of years. And they were specifically to address the issues that people were coming in off the street. One of my patients realized I had this range of blends and teas and said, you should put labels on them and let people know that they're here. And I thought that was a great idea. And 2 years later, she got very frustrated with me and she actually did the labels. And some of these are the original labels. We're gradually changing them over, those of you who are interested in market and design. And these are our new labels for the whole range. So this really developed organically out of what people needed and what the staff needed. And behind here, we have the operation of works, and I'll introduce you to Michelle, 2 meters away. And this is our herbal dispensary for individual medical herbs. We have a whole range of individual herbal teas. So you might go on the website and not find, you know, wait till we see lime flower tea or lemon balm tea or hawthorn berries or cramp bark. And you might want to use any of those. You can make up your own tea blends. And I love when people do that. You can look at what's in our blends and you can use what's in them from your own garden, which I like. This is very much about being here for exactly the question you posed for today. How can herbs keep us well? And the first thing I've written down on my little notes here is that what medicines we believe in, it's a belief system, and a belief system is influenced by so many different things. If we come from an analytical, scientific, evidence-based medicine as a dogma, I love evidence-based medicine, I love science, and I have a very analytical mind. But taking any one particular thing as a dogma, the connection between belief and dogma is very close. So if you absolutely believe in one thing and not another, it's always worth, but the same goes true in business. It's worth thinking, well, where does that belief come from? And if nobody has fed any other concept, well, then you'll believe what you're given, right? But I'm going to introduce a new concept. So if you're adamant about one system of medicine, maybe just open the little grey cells for 45 minutes, and we'll see. I'm not out to make somebody believe something opposite to their own beliefs. I'm looking to people to expand their belief system. I thought I'd do that by talking about four things. Anxiety or stress, which brings in insomnia as well, infections in general, irritable bowel syndrome, and sinuses. So first of all, the interest in herbs came from gardening, harvesting herbs, using them myself, studying them, eventually doing a degree in herbal medicine in Middlesex University in North London. But there's a role of sustainable and regenerative medicine feeding into rural regeneration and sustainability. And for ourselves, our sustainability comes from 3 doctors, not me being clever. I'll tell you my clever bit at the end. In the 13th century, in one of the first universities in Salerno in Italy, there were 3 professors, and I always imagined them sitting in a courtyard with a glass of wine saying, well, what do people really need to be feeling well? What's healthy, what's well-being? And that sense that all your needs are being taken care of, and you look at the world with not rose-tinted glasses, but a reality of the justice, injustice, health, wealth, whatever, and you have a feeling that all is well with your world, even in times of difficulty. And how to achieve that, their consensus was Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, and Dr. Laughter. So Dr. Diet, Dr. Quiet, and Dr. Laughter. So write those 3 down and put them in your SMART objectives and whatever else your business models are. Look at your Google Calendar and see if you've got enough time in your life for Dr. Diet, shopping and shopping, or the other way around. Dr. Quiet, reflection, prayer, meditation. Dr. Laughter, mindfulness wasn't invented in the last 5 years. Dr. Laughter, and hopefully you'll have plenty of that in your life. I've added 2 to the 21st century. One is Dr. Sleep, especially in the days of Zoom and Facebook and social media and Netflix. Your bedroom is for your sleeping. And you have to be in bed early enough to wind down to get some sleep. And Dr. Movement, and especially when we're all so restricted and gyms are shut and sports are shut down and teams aren't going ahead, and international triathlons aren't going ahead. Sure they're not, Michelle? No, Michelle is a triathlon person. So Dr. Movement, keep it all moving, dance around the kitchen, do some Bollywood dancing or line dancing to YouTube, whatever floats you. Okay, so take that as your blueprint, and then we look at food, very important. And we have 2 nutritionists here who do a nutritional clinic. Michelle is one of them, fully trained nutritionist. So if you know your nutrition isn't right and you need help, give us a ring and make an appointment. The biggest thing I think that's very high up for people at the moment is tension. So you imagine you're the customer coming in here and you say, oh, life is difficult and, you know, various things happening. What would you advise? So this is what Michelle would advise. We have the Tranquility Tea and the Relax Blend. I know I got the Tranquility. Here we go. Here's the Tranquility Tea. We have these teas as a loose blend, and you take 3 teaspoons a day. I won't read out all of the herbs because they're all on the website, but I'll just give you an example. This one is verbena, rhodiola, chamomile, lemon balm, rosemary, and bitter orange peel. So these are relaxing at core level. They address the solar plexum, the autonomic nervous system, and calm an over busy mind. And we also have the, here's my relax blend gone. Now I put it down. Okay. We don't see it. Give me 2 seconds. That's why it's good to do it out here. So this is the relaxed blend, 10 herbs. And if you're stressed about doing a presentation tomorrow, you start taking it this evening at tea time, take another dose before bed, another one in the morning. And if you're still tense or writing tense or whatever, then you can use 3 or 4 doses in a day. However, if you're in a state of chronic anxiety, and all of these that I'm talking about are mild to moderate symptoms, this does not mean you forego going to the doctors. It doesn't mean that herbal medicine has the answer. Everything has limitations. Can you all hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Background noise.
Sorry?
There is a lot of background noise.
Yeah, that's what I just noticed hearing, but it's gone now. Is it still there?
Yeah, I think everyone needs to go onto mute if they can.
Oh,
please.
yes, please. Good suggestion. Thank you. Okay. How's that?
Better.
Better? Okay. So this is the relaxed blend. Again, there's 10 herbs in here. They're all listed on the website. And if you've got chronic, low-grade, coping anxiety, I would suggest you take 5 mils 3 times a day for a minimum of 3 weeks, up to 6 weeks. If you have insomnia, if you're tired and anxious because your mind is racing and you're not sleeping, then take this for 3 to 6 weeks. If it's more than that, I work with Lara, Jona's daughter, and we provide, who also has a degree in herbal medicine. She also has a master's in teaching clinical medicine, and we both lecture for Heartwood. And I also lecture for NUIG as an honorary medical clinical fellow, which is in transition at the moment because of COVID and other circumstances. So the relaxed blend and the tranquility tea, and they can be used together. We also have various things that we've blended, like a sleep stick of aromatherapy oils that you would use on your temples. And that can be very useful for, you know, when you feel like you're getting a bit more stressed, as just like an instant calming. Also beneficial for sleep or any stress. So mild to moderate. I'll come back to the one question I did get in advance. Let me put those in. Is the sound okay now, guys?
That's good.
No, it's not great. I think there's still a lot of people not on mute, unfortunately. I don't know if you can block them yourself.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes. Oh, there's 41 people on with me. Mute.
You know what? That's actually, whoever just went on mute, that's made a huge difference. So that's worked. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. So that was the anxiety and stress. Where are the ingredients sourced from? I have, there's a herbal medicine, a cooperative of medical herbalists under a Planta Medica, who in the UK, who are interested in, their main interest is to make sure we have good quality herbs. I have been there, I have seen the manufacturing. The preservative is a small amount of alcohol. In any one dose, there's more alcohol in a ripe banana, but it is important that people know it, and it is written on the bottle. The dried teas we resource from a company that's been supplying since, I think about 1922. And they have huge storage, all the proper facilities for storing dried herbs. We do hope in the next few years to have somebody growing for them locally. And the Herbal Cooperative has since Christmas, partly thanks to Brexit, has opened a distribution centre in Dublin and will be growing 20 acres of herbs in County Dublin. So we'll have lots to report on. So the quality of the herbal tinctures, this is a herbal tincture, and the herbal teas. The herbal teas come in loose herbs or as sachets. I'm just going to open one of these. What do we do? We'll do the Boost pack, the Boost tea blend, which is very good for people who want to detox and lose weight and therefore have energy. Although I don't sell it as such, but all of the herbs that have evidence for those things will be in this. So this is a tea sachet. In this, you'll find a day's supply, which is 3 teaspoons of herbs. So each pack has 42, as the equivalent of 42 tea bags. And they each of the, like we have one here, this is the Tranquility tea, which contains 16 of those sachets. And you can combine or you can buy them loose, which is obviously less expensive. I actually pay somebody to come and pack these tea bags for me. So obviously that has to be accounted for. But I get so much better compliance. Even though there is a less expensive option, people are choosing to have the tea sachets if they want to achieve therapeutic results. The main difference is in herbal medicine, as I was saying earlier, is designed to support the person who is having symptoms. So a herbal medicine practitioner will see, and I want you to begin to see your symptoms as clues. I want you to be your own Miss Marple. We all have our own little go-to. Like when I was getting involved in herbal medicine, I got bronchitis every 2 years, which was getting to the point of needing inhalers and steroids. And the herbs certainly took care of that for me. I've had lots of other illnesses where I needed magic heparin and magic other drugs or surgical interventions for abscesses and things. So I don't have it. It's not that one kind of medicine is good. And this is something I have to teach my patients. I'm only interested in useful medicine that is serving the patient's needs. And of that, I want it to be the least harmful, but sometimes it needs to be more long sustained. With the memory tea, for instance, I would want to take it for 3 to 6 weeks. It's not an instant fix. So I think that's kind of like a good introduction. I love people burning essential oils. One that people don't know a lot about is marjoram, so you can check that out. Otherwise, it's the mandarins, the chamomiles, geraniums, lavenders, all the ones that many of you might be familiar with. They regularly feature the aroma streamers in Aldi or Lidl, or just get one online, especially if you have small children. I don't want candles. If you're burning candles, make sure they're good value, like beeswax, because otherwise they can be quite toxic. But I'm going back to practicalities. What would I have in a first aid kit? Because the title of this is How Can Herbs Keep Us Well? Which means looking after us with all these minor things, I suppose. And in that I would have calendula balm, which is very good for eczema. It's healing, antimicrobial, antifungal, and very, very nice. And you can use it around the eyes as a moisturizer. Very nice. Healing cream has things like echinacea, calendula. What else is in the healing cream, Michelle? I'm having a little brainstorm here. What else is in the healing cream?
There is St. John's wort.
St. John's wort, yeah.
Tea tree oil.
And tea tree oil, okay. So that's very good for every bump, every graze, anything that it's a good antiseptic and healing. So the healing cream and the comfrey balm. Comfrey balm is good for all your sports injuries, bruises and sprains. So they're very good. We also have a chest rub, which is very nice. Now, the one thing that I wouldn't leave out of my first aid kit is slippery elm. Slippery elm, which we combine with mallow, is a powder, and you can take it internally or you can use it as a poultice externally for drawing out any kind of splinters or boils. If you have follicular acne, you can make a tiny little poultice and put it on with a little bit of paper tape. Very good for drawing. And it does the same thing internally. It soothes all of the digestive lining. It mops up diarrhea. It eases constipation because it's blotting paper fiber. It's that soft. So very good for alternating bowel movements associated with irritable bowel or any gastroenteritis, okay? And along with that, I would keep ginger in my kitchen cupboard. I would keep sage and thyme in my kitchen cupboard. If my patients phone me and they're in trouble, this is what I'm looking for them to have in their kitchen cupboard. So slippery elm, echinacea. If you feel the first sign or you're surrounded by people with infection, the echinacea is a very good thing to have in your cupboard. We then have Boost Tea, which is this one that I showed you. This is the Boost Tea pack, which is very good for boosting your immunity and your, so it's got elderflowers, elderberries, peppermint and yarrow. So this is very good whenever you feel like there is a flu or a cold or anything like that. From the minute you think it is coming, with the minute you go, uh-oh. I'm infamous for advising sardines and also the uh-oh moment. The uh-oh moment is when you see in your kids, uh-oh, they're going off the boil, they're coming down with something, as my mother would have said. So I think I'm covering Anne-Marie's question here with that one. So that's one I would have. We have a children's version which has catmint instead of peppermint. So you can phone and ask for that. And the minute your kids, it's also very nice for them when they're teething. So it's a very nice one to have in the house. If you have kids in the house, we have Kinderkind, which is our children's soothing cough blend. Now this is there's no alcohol preservative in this. It's all made with a glyceride preservative, and all the information is on the label. And I would also have the digestive blend to go with the slippery elm and mallow. And the digestive blend is good for any gastroenteritis, gastric flu, tummy upsets of wind, bloating, distension, heartburn, very good for all of that. So that's my first aid kit. The comfrey balm is often sold as gardener's hand cream. And I can tell you, women and men, if you want a good moisturizer that goes deeply penetrating, use the comfrey balm once or twice a week, and it'll more than pay for itself. Now, to do with preservatives, we also have a licorice cream, which is a very good unisex, non-gendered moisturizing cream with no preservatives. You keep it in the fridge and you use it within 6 weeks because there's no preservatives. You want to make sure that it is not becoming infected with anything from your finger or whatever. So you might like to know about that. Just as another philosophy of the business, you can see behind us and here we have various other suppliers that fit a niche. This is coconut and honey deodorant. They're not on the website, but feel free to phone us. We have the Mensi cap or organic cap or for menstruation, to avoid putting things into the environment, the products, which are often highly plasticized. So we have a lot of, and behind us we have a range of soaps and shampoo bars and rinse aids. So we like to support local Irish. These are mainly resourced through personal contact. So if there's anything that you're interested, you can phone and ask us. Okay, so irritable bowel syndrome, again, I'm thinking you guys are between the ages of 23, 24 and 64. And this is a common age group for irritable bowel syndrome and also premenstrual problems and menstrual problems, for which we have a women's blend. So again, you can phone and ask us about those, but I'll concentrate on the irritable bowel syndrome. Irritable bowel syndrome, from a herbal point of view, is a peristalsis stuckness. Peristalsis is like a Mexican wave. You're at the Aviva Stadium and everybody's getting very excited and the waves are going round, and then some idiot decides to go the other way, and somewhere along the line, they're not really an idiot, but you know, the whole thing gets, and then it meets in the middle and there's a big whoosh and nobody knows where it's going. And that's very similar to the problems of peristalsis with irritable bowel syndrome. So, and it's the connection between the gut brain and the brain, and they have an equal volume of brain tissue. That's what I mean. I love the science of all of this. Most of the connections are via the vagus nerve, the splanchnic nerves, and much of it is centered in the solar plexus. So the solar plexus coincides with one of the main chakras, of course, because energy medicine comes into all of this. Do you see what I mean about keeping belief systems open? You want to calm the lining of the gut. You want to increase the peristalsis. You want to increase the food breakdown. You want to improve the gut microflora. You want to calm the brain. You want to relieve the constipation. You want to give fiber for the constipation, and blotting paper for the diarrhea, because a lot of people go between the two, so it's useful for both. So the digestion tea, we have a digestion tea sachets and a digestive blend, which again is the same kind of tincture blend to take 5 ml 3 times a day. Some people prefer the tincture because it's, you know, 1 dose, it's done. For people who are even less impatient or more disorganized, I put it into a small bottle and we can send you one. Put the 3 doses in the bottle, add some water or juice, put the lid on it, shake it, knock back a third. At lunchtime, knock back a third. At the evening, knock back a third. Preferably the 3 times a day doses, because herbs are like food. They're like a nourishing food for whatever is going wrong. So, oh my goodness, there's 2 people waiting to be admitted. My apologies, Lydia and Tara. Other people are very happy putting one of these into a teapot, a boil-proof jug, any kind of sippy mug, you know, like the ones you take out on your jog. So you can sip these throughout the day. You can top up with boiled water. So it also supports people's hydration, and working in offices, hydration is very important. So there's one good tip, but you've heard that already. I'm trying to give you additional things that you might not have heard of. So that's the irritable bowel. Sinusitis, obviously look at your diet. Make sure you're getting oily fish, nuts and seeds, and avocados. This goes for all of these conditions. That's why I'm famous for the sardines. Healthy food doesn't have to be expensive food. Infections. Okay, here's the good news. I did a whole webinar last Wednesday. It's on YouTube about the use of herbs for as an adjuvant symptomatic therapy for COVID-19. This is looking at early intervention, given that WHO has defined COVID for the most part as a self-limiting illness for the vast majority of healthy adults. And that's what this is aimed at. But it does bring up a whole question of the ideal place for herbal medicine is mild to moderate symptoms, mild to moderate asthma, mild to moderate sinuses, mild to moderate PMS, mild to moderate autoimmune diseases, mild to moderate migraine. Instead, people seem to think, well, when I've tried everything, exhausted everything, had, you know, mega doses of steroids and 6 months of antibiotics, and none of that does the system. They've had 2 courses of triple therapy for their Helicobacter. Then they think they might go to a herbalist. And I'm going, oh, please don't do that. We want to see you early. You can still go and have all the tests done. You can still have your triple therapy. You can still have, but I see many people who have 2 doses of triple therapy and they're going for the 3rd. And then they come and see us. So we would be looking to use a collaborative approach. So you have the benefit of the triple therapy and the benefit of herbs. You don't have to choose. We seem to have this impression that you have to choose between them. So there is evidence of 5 herbs having a positive beneficial effect, and we have all of them. They include mallow, myrrh, echinacea, aniseed, which surprised me, and then there are 12 ones that probably have a beneficial effect, positive effect, but there isn't enough evidence or supporting evidence. And then there are 22 herbs that they list. That's a total of 39 that they've considered, and they just don't have enough information. They're used traditionally, but they don't have enough information to make a statement about it one way or the other. All of them come up trumps for safety. And this is using a framework which compared safety issues with paracetamol, ibuprofen, and codeine for cough. So this actually was done by an international team, which included Fabio Boylan, who is an associate pharmacist in Trinity College Dublin. This at last gave me something to focus on. So we have made a Covitone blend if people do want to use it during a mild to moderate. It's not specific, it covers all viruses. That's where the name comes from, which are related to colds and influenza. If things go deeper, we also have Mucotone, which is more of the thyme and garlicky antiseptic range. And this was one that made a difference to me, because every time I got a cold, it went to my chest and I got a bronchitis. So these would be the kind of herbs that I would have used. If you know you're exhausted and you haven't been sleeping well and your immune system is low, and at this time of the year you always get A, B, and C infection, then I advise a blend called Imitone, because it is nourishing. You see, the problem with flu viruses, and the current pandemic in particular, is that it engages a huge shitstorm in the immune system. That's the inflammatory response. That's designed to get rid of the virus. So we don't suppress that. We nourish it and we sustain it. We don't suppress a cough. We soothe the cough, but we don't suppress it. We don't use codeine. There is controversy about whether codeine even has that effect, but it certainly has a number of side effects and has a very low safety record for this indication. Very important to say that. So we have a range of things. For children, I mentioned the kinder kind. We have families who never have this not in the cupboard because it's so good. We also have a throat coat spray. Oh, this is something I would have in the first aid kit as well. Now, the important thing with this is that you put your head back, open your mouth as wide as possible, keeping your tongue as low as possible, and squirt this at the back of the throat. You don't want to coat your teeth because one of them has got a glyceride and we don't want the dentist getting upset. And this is very nice to use. And people with the sore throat that's occurring with the influenza are finding it a real comfort. So I think that covers most of it. Oh, the clarity. The other one is chronic sinuses. As a GP, I was always very mean with antibiotics. I had a GP trainer who in 1985 was saying to all of his patients, where it was relevant, I always prescribe antibiotics where I find that they're justified. But he was saying, 1985, he was telling patients most things in general practice get better in a week with antibiotics and 7 days without them. And that has been my mantra. I thought that was very good teaching. And it certainly reflected my values in always, even before I ever heard of a herb, wanting to know that the medicines were going to cause more benefit than harm, and preferably had a therapeutic role. And that's one of the things, you know, my patients who came with their children with eczema, they'd put the steroid on, but the minute they stopped using the steroid, the problem would come back. So it wasn't therapeutic, it wasn't healing the problem. And herbs are very good for allergies. And if any of you get hay fever, yesterday is Ash Wednesday, so when Easter comes, that's the time to start taking your herbs. And we have a blend of hay fever tea, which you have to call something different now. But anyway, the staff will be able to help you. I drifted off to hay fever there, hay fever land. Yes, if you have chronic sinuses, you need a regime of good food, lots of fruit and vegetables. Most of my dietary advice is what to add in, what to make sure you're getting plenty of, rather than restrictive, because none of us are good at restrictive practices. We get bored, we get bold, we get bored and bold. So adding in helpful things is a much more constructive strategy. With chronic sinuses, then we have the Clearway tea, boost tea, the Clearway tea, or the Congestion tea. So I've got so many things around me now. Let me see. It's good for me to take a break anyway, because I talk too fast. Michelle, which is the Congestion tea?
So the Congestion tea should be there.
She's just going to get it for me. We've renamed and relabeled all of these, which is my confusion. And I haven't been much in the clinic since then. Here's the Congestion tea. So again, very easy, once a day sachet, combined anytime you get a flare up, then it would be to combine it with the mucotone. So a lot of the teas balance in with the tinctures. Part of this is very practical. The teas are less expensive, and less expensive again if you use the loose teas. And if you're going to use something for 3 months, it's very important to consider the family budget. We've had this business here for 21 years, and I think a lot of it is that my business mantra would be to give people what's most possible for the least amount possible that will be used the most consistently to get good benefit. Okay, so that's the sinuses. Then you use the Neil Med from the chemist, you get the sinus washouts, you do an steam inhalation, and then you do postural drainage over the end of the bed with your head upside down. We can send you all of the details of that and how to manage acute sinusitis if you email us. We also have a newsletter, which we don't have, I think we send it out once a month. And it's usually inviting you to things or having a specific message. We don't inundate you. I'll do my business bit, or Michelle will kill me, which is Facebook and Instagram. Michelle runs Instagram for us. And I do lots of little video clips as to what I find down around Salt Hill on my daily walk within 5K. And I've started again the last few days. And 2 of the herbs, well, certainly the plantain that I did on my little mini clip the last day is very relevant to the sinusitis. Okay. So I think somebody has sent me a private message. Lisa, I can just see that something is a private message, but I can't actually read anything in here. So anyway, if anybody has a message. Psoriasis, yes, psoriasis is an autoimmune condition. And the one question I had was about an autoimmune condition, so thanks for raising it. The first thing I advise for autoimmune disease is a gluten-free diet. And this is not because people are celiacs. It just means that gliadin is a part of wheat in particular that loosens the zonulin, and it may be gliadin and it may be other associated proteins, but you certainly don't want to have an autoimmune condition that, in addition to which, the wheat is contributing to elements of a leaky gut. Everything in herbal medicine starts with the gut. And I was studying herbal medicine for 2 years before one of my teachers, who's a very well-known herbalist and has authored quite a number of books. I said to him, come on, Andrew, you know, migraine is the gut, arthritis is the gut, asthma is the gut. I mean, what is, and he had a very noddy dog. He was the opposite of me. He speaks very slowly. And he looked at me with one of those, you know, really deep looks. And I could just see the cogs of his brain going, we might make a herbalist of her yet. But I think it took 5 years in general herbal medicine practice for me to truly appreciate that. And really learning to be a medical herbalist is really a transformational learning process where you become a herbalist. It's not something you learn from books. It's also an art and a skill. So if you have moderate to severe problems, then I wouldn't hesitate to suggest seeing a medical herbalist, because by the time you pay for a lot of over-the-counter products, you might as well invest in the consultations to make them most useful to you, and to pace and mentor. Because we go to coaches for our business development, we go to advisors about our social media projects, we go to our managers for mentoring, and yet we don't think about having mentoring for our own, and this is all we are is this mind body, you know, individual person, and yet we don't think about getting monitoring when we have symptoms that are telling us that there's something going wrong. So your appointment with a herbalist is to do that. How much longer do I have, guys? If somebody can give me a time check as to when you all need to depart, because I could talk for hours. So IBS, and actually no, I've got through my 4 questions. Okay. So the other one I thought, if I had time at the end, was to talk about energy. You guys in that working age range of very busy commitments, often the big thing is energy. And it took my son saying one day, this is what people are really, really concerned about. So we have 2 energy blends, and these are when the batteries are low. These are to try and sustain our digestion, mental clarity, nervous system interconnectedness, and help the energy backpack of each cell, which is in the mitochondria. So we did 2. One is for women, which is called Wimergy, and the other is for men, as it was my son who suggested it, and he was the one that needed it. Men working in offices, not a good design. Anybody working in offices for huge chunks of their lives isn't a good design, but that's life in this part of the era at this time. So particularly important for us all to get out and get different exercise. And women should be careful not to overstretch their exercise needs. And men, it's very important that they meet their exercise needs, and they can, you know, they should obviously be at a different pace while achieving their best objectives. But we have a blend for women and for men, and there's a lot of adaptogens in here, and adaptogens are herbs that are specifically, I would say that most herbs are adaptogens, whatever their specific indication and action is. But the adaptogens are ones that are particularly active on the cortisol engagement front. Okay, so you might have a herb that's an adaptogen for the digestive system, and therefore it's an adaptogen for the whole of who you are and how you're functioning. But what we call adaptogens are specifically geared to the cortisol levels, also promoting sleep, good digestion, muscle relaxation, and adapted. So one is specific for women and for men. And the other thing that a lot of people pay absolute fortunes for are detox. So we have a detox blend. And this is good because a lot of people, you're sitting at a desk all day. Can I greatly encourage you all to have stand-up desks to do your Zoom standing up? I didn't have one here today. I do most of my writing and my work standing up. So that's very bad for, that's the couch potato. Everything is static. So up and around the desk, you know, find reasons to tie your shoelaces, do what I call real exercise, go up and down the stairs. So they're helpful as well. So I think have to leave now as I have another call. Okay, but I think if you guys have managed to take in any amount of that, the low energy and the celiac, the children's, the boost tea, yeah, I think I've covered mentioning the use for infections and COVID. So great. Lovely. Okay. Taking a note of all the questions. Thanks, Barbara. So do you want to go and enjoy that? I hope I've lifted you up and given you options and alternatives and a glimpse into what I do for my work every day. I work with a great team here. Anybody has questions, phone us 091 583 260. We're on Facebook. We're all over the place, aren't we, Michelle? We have nutritionists, and we're all on Zoom. If people come and see us, we will like to see you when the curtain goes up at some stage. But hey, who needs an excuse to come to Galway? So thanks everybody for being a great audience. I'm sure you'd be a great audience if I could get beyond the limitations. But thank you for attending and listening attentively, and I hope you're all taking care of yourselves and that this will help you to do so. Bye now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.